Thank you.
Hi, I'm a parent. I have 4 children, one in 5th grade, one in 6th grade, one in 8th grade, and one in 10th. I also have one that has special needs, has an IEP. He will clearly be left behind with the way the modules are set up. He comes home with a book, which is a module, which looks like the school has made the book themselves, that they've photocopied it and put it together. It never has any examples for me to help him. I spent a half an hour on one math question dealing with percentage and if you went and paid your, when you were giving a tip to your waitress, how to figure out the math skill for that. He's got a learning disability. He's dyslexic. It takes him forever to read and write. So now the math curriculum has huge paragraphs for them to read. So by the time he's tried to figure out how to read that or have somebody read it for him, he's lost the whole context of what the math question was. And they want them to do the math in a certain way when you can come up with the answer in maybe a couple different ways. His AIS math teacher didn't even know how to explain it to him when I was looking at the math, though I was able to figure it out. He's the only one in the public school right at the moment. My other 3 children are at a private school. They come home with better instruction and materials to help guide them, but yet they are struggling also. My 8th grade daughter, child in 8th grade, she, for math, she doesn't have some of the material from 7th grade that she needs because it's all a building block in order to pass the test this year. So not only does she have to stay on track with the module, she's behind because she didn't get the information in 7th grade. She comes home with at least 3 hours of homework. She's stressed about the exam. She's crying. My 5th grader comes home stressed, has a lot of reading and homework, and she'll come home with an hour of homework. They should have piloted this differently. They should have asked the teachers to implement a lot of this stuff. They should have educated the teachers. At this point, I think it all needs to be pulled because it's destroying our kids' education. And not everyone's going to go to college. We don't even offer a lot of trades anymore in school. And I'm sure one of my kids is not going to go to college, or maybe he will to a trade school. But at the rate we're going, he's falling behind. All my kids are falling behind. My daughter, who is in 5th grade, is at the top of her reading class last year, but when she took the test, now she requires AIS reading. She does not require AIS reading. So now you're taking away from the kids who truly need the help, but luckily the school she is at is not giving her the AIS help because they recognize that she does not need it.
How is this affecting the family?
It's very stressful. I work full-time. I'm a nurse. My husband is self-employed. He and I are both struggling. I mean, I'm a little bit dyslexic myself. My husband has a learning disability, so we struggle when we're trying to teach the kids or help them. They don't come home with examples on how to do this. In the school, the public school that my one child goes to, they did a night of Common Core and thought that was so special. And when parents asked questions, they didn't answer them. So that tells me they don't even understand what they're doing. If you can't give me an answer straight up, you don't know what you're teaching then. And to direct me to a website when the people in my community, probably half the parents can't even get to a website. It takes forever to try to finagle through the website to figure out how to answer the question. Most of the people in the small town that I come from probably don't have access to a computer. And if both the parents are working or it's a single parent family, they're all going to fall behind. This is creating more of a mess.
One of the things that we've seen also with single parent households. So when my kids were younger, and what would happen is if they were struggling, I would sit down and try to help them through. But if they were doing something where I couldn't help them, I'd get a tutor. Okay, but a lot of single parent households, they're worried about keeping a roof over their head, keeping the lights on, keeping food on the table, and there's no way that they can give those kids what they need, and they go to, and this is one of the things that Common Core doesn't look at, and they don't factor that in. Now, see if I can get this through you. By the time you get home, you get them all settled down after school. They get home from the bus, you have dinner, you give them dinner, they sit there, they do their homework, and you're getting them ready for bed. What time are they going to bed at night with this type of homework and stuff?
Sometimes 10 o'clock. And then they've got to be up at 6 o'clock in the morning to get ready for school. And that would be my 8th grader. My 6th grader, who has a learning disability, he's working so hard in school, they try not to send homework home for him because it's just too complicated for us to try to help him. Now,
you're finding they're saying, I'm sick, I don't feel good, trying to stay home from school.
Yes.
And
but also not wanting to miss school because then they're going to be behind.
Right. Are they fighting with you about, I really don't want to go to school today? Are you hearing the same things we're hearing from everything else? I can't do this.
Yes. Yes. This is a disaster.
Okay.
I mean, I'm flying by the seat of my pants up here. I figured I would just come and learn to see what everyone had to say, and I totally agree with all the teachers and the parents that have gotten up here to speak. I agree with what you're doing. It needs to be pulled.
Okay. Thank you very much.
This is detrimental. This is hurting our children.
Thank you.
A quick question before you leave. As a parent of a student with an IEP, and I've heard some of the other teachers talk, some of the teachers that have spoken about not having time. Do you think that's having an effect on your student, that the teacher has to spend so much of her time and resources on that Common Core curriculum that the other students like yours that need additional help might be falling by the wayside?
Luckily for my son who's got a disability, I have been a huge advocate for him, and he has a special ed teacher that pushes into all his classes to help. But he's still far behind. I mean, he shouldn't be taking any standardized tests because his reading level is at least 3 grades below the grade level he's at. So I don't know how the state ever thinks that these children can take a standardized test when the reading level is at least 3 levels above what they're doing. And I fought for years to not get him to take the standardized test because how is it really fair? We already know through psychological exams and review that he's behind. Okay, fine. You don't need to give him the standardized test to tell us where he's at. He already qualifies without that.
But yeah, his score on the standardized test, which I presume would be lower because he's behind. Well, 1, okay. Does that somehow go against the teacher's record? Then there's no curve or anything. I mean, that's just, it's not taking into account the individuality of the students?
I think they do take it into account, but I'm not 100% on that. And especially nowadays with how strapped everyone is, there's at least 3 or 4 kids in his class with the same, as far behind as he is, so that one special ed teacher who's pushing in can try to help those 4 kids, which is wrong, because then you're not saying that it's an individual learning situation, you've clumped them all together. We've forgotten that our kids are all individuals and learn at different paces. And when you set them to this module and you have to meet a deadline, there's no way. There's no room to go back. So you've lost the middle, the end, but then my student who's a high honor roll student, she's lost. So it's affecting all of them.
Thank you.
Just one is in public school and the other in private school?
One is in public, and we'll probably pull him.
Okay. Where would you can you say which public school you're in? Or are you
Waterville.
In Waterville, okay. Any questions? Thank you very much. We really appreciate your comments.